What's up, guys? Specstar here today with my Week 5 battle for Clash of Kings. This time up against my nemesis, Hiker, and his team consisting of Mega Heracross, Garchomp, Victini, Greninja. Of course, it wouldn't be a Hiker team without Quillfish and Togetic. And I will switch right over here to my team. Starting off, I got a relatively basic spread on my Mega Gardevoir, max speed because I had to tie the Victini, of course. Hyper Voice Psyshock as expected, Shadow Ball hits the Victini. Knockoff would also cover potentially a Victini switch and knocking off what I going in imagined would be a vest or a scarf. And it also helps with Togetic, which is very important to get pressured, particularly for this next mon here, which is my Dragapult. I'm running a modest Scarf variant with just enough speed for Garchomp, if I'm not mistaken. And this thing, he has a lot of mons that can do real damage to me Scarfed, particularly Victini and Garchomp, and even a little bit Greninja too. But yeah, this thing allows me to revenge kill them, and it also is quite threatening in the late game, with the Shadow Ball being quite threatening if I can get the Togetic pressured early on, which is very important in this game. And yeah, I've got a pretty basic set. Fire Blast mostly hits the Heracross, and then about the normal moves you'd run on something like that. Next up here, I've got my specially defensive Occaberry Ferrothorn with Thunder Wave, Rocks, and 2 attacks. The reason I'm running an Occaberry specially defensive set is because the point is to, if he goes into Rotom, I would switch this in on the Volt switch, and then I'd imagine he would bring in Victini. And should he be Blue Flare, which I would for the most part expect, I would be able to eat one of those and be able to paralyze him, which would be pretty damn nice because that mon is very much a big threat to me. Next up here, I've got a Gastrodon that is about as basic as it could possibly be. Ice Beam, Earth Power, Toxic Recover, physically defensive. Not too much to talk about there. Next up, I've got my Thundurus, which has speed for Garchomp, and I'm running Boots, 3 attacks, and then the emergency defog in case he sets up spikes, which he could do with Heracross or Greninja. And then I've got the Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, Psychic. Psychic, it just hits Heracross a little bit better. It's also a more accurate move to hit Garchomp. And then, yeah, for Focus Blast, pretty much with Psychic hits everything Thunderbolt doesn't really hit. And lastly here, I've got my most out-of-the-box set here, which is my my 252 defense, near max speed banded Blaziken with no attack investment. And the point of this thing is to be able to switch in once on Heracross, which for the life of me, the rest of my team just absolutely can't do. This thing comes in once on that, and hopefully with the band, it's able to put up pretty good pressure on him. And I've got Flare Blitz, U-Turn, Close Combat, and Knockoff. Pretty much just what I need to hit his whole team pretty well. And then I will switch back over to the replay. So to get things started here, I wanted to lead off with Dragapult. It's not exactly the best lead in the world, but it's pretty damn safe, which in this matchup was about as good as I could get. I led off with my Dragapult. He led off with Victini, and I was thinking that there's a very high possibility that this thing was Scarfed, and if it was, U-Turn I thought was the most likely thing to happen here. So I actually just went for my Shadow Ball. He instead pulls a switch into Togetic, which unsurprisingly is max specially defensive. I'll switch into my Thundurus, and he actually shows Tailwind, which was pretty surprising. Definitely not what I was expecting to see of this thing. I'm sure he's not going to stay in, and I imagine at this point that the most likely switch in would be that good old Garchomp. So I go for Focus Blast to try to get damage. He goes into Heracross and I miss, which is not surprising. I actually pulled a switch into my Ferrothorn because this turn I was pretty sure he would click Rock Blast, and making a pivot here would be able to stall out Tailwind. So I go into Ferrothorn expecting Rock Blast. He does go for the Rock Blast, so that works out for me. And then on my next turn, I'm expecting Close Combat, and then Next most likely would either be Sub or Pin Missile, both of which Dragapult somewhat covers. So I pull the switch into Dragapult here. He goes for Close Combat, which is nice for me. Tailwind's going to pewter out. He goes into Togetic as I actually click U-turn, because if he is knockoff, U-turn's what I would want to do there. And it also covers, of course, the switch. So as he goes into Togetic, I go Blaziken, which is just kind of my idea of having the best chance of being able to pressure this thing. As he goes into Garchomp, I'm going to click my Flare Blitz, get somewhat damage off. That is looking very offensive, so I'll take note of that. I pull the switch in my Gastrodon, and that damage is not banded, and I don't think it's Soft Sand either, so that's looking Scarf to me. That's my thought. Either that or Victini would be the Scarfer. Qwilfish comes in, he goes for Toxic Spikes. I go for Earth Power. It was very interesting to see that come in on the Gastrodon. He was very eager to get these hazards up. Definitely looks like a designated lead, but I guess he didn't like the matchup for leading it. So I go for the Earth Power, get damage on it, bring him down to his Sash. At this point, I have to be careful about Destiny Bond, so I'm going to switch out. He actually pulls the switch into Greninja as I go to Thundurus. If he has Specs, he would be able to kill me, so I have to kind of make the chicken play into Ferrothorn as he U-turns. We take about equal chip there as he goes into his Victini. Unfortunately, I'm in range of any fire moves, so I pull the switch into Blaziken, which would be able to cover the V-Create there. And he's going to get dropped. I basically have one turn to try to cause as much damage as I can with Blaziken, but he'll just sack off the Qwilfish and the Blaziken will go down to 1. He brings in Greninja and I can't save the thing. Realistically, it's not worth doing, so he U-turns out. He brings in Victini and I bring in my Dragapult here. I need to get damage off on this thing. It's very important I do. And he actually shows that he is the Kasib Berry, which interestingly enough was not what I was expecting, but it was what Josh had in the mock, so that was interesting. He brings in the Heracross here. And my play is just into Ferrothorn here. I'll get a little bit of chip on him, and it's probably the least valuable thing I have left. So it takes a little bit of chip, and then I bring in Gardevoir to try to put on some pressure. He goes into Victini, and I just click Hyper Voice. Now, I believe at this point, I think from the V-Create calc, it had to be Adamant, so I knew that this was not a speed tie. So I'm just safe to go ahead and click Shadow Ball again here. And that'll take down the Victini safely. He brings in Greninja here, and a Hydro Pump from his set wouldn't kill me. So what that tells me is that he has to be Gunk Shot, or else he's just putting in place a very masterful bluff. If he is bluffing, I'm going to take the bluff, and I'm going to go into my Gastrodon here. But he actually does show the Gunk Shot, which is interesting, and not what I was expecting in prep. He U-turns out here on my little Gastrodon. I believe I went for Ice Beam here, because Earth Power wasn't touching any switching. Get a nice crit for 25%. Dodge the Pin Missile. We're racking up the chip here. Those turns basically just even it up after missing the Focus Blast. We're about notched up there, and then he takes down my Gastrodon. I bring in my Thundurus here. It's kind of my best mon to force a kill. I go for Psychic here on the Garchomp. Now, I'm going to have to switch to my Gardevoir. I know there's two options. He could either click Outrage or Stone Edge. If he does click Stone Edge, he has to land 2, and if he clicks Outrage, it's good for my Gardevoir. At this point, I'm almost 100% certain the Garchomp's Scarfed. And keeping Thundurus at full health was key because I'm pretty sure I'm able to, I am sure I'm able to live a hit from Greninja. So keeping it at full health is very important for doing that. He goes for Stone Edge, and actually I didn't have the chance to dodge 2. I had the chance to dodge 1. Been a week and a half or so we didn't remember that. But yeah, I had the chance to dodge 1 if he did click the Stone Edge, which he does. And then I bring in my Dragapult here. He goes into Togetic. I just click Shadow Ball. And then I'm going to switch into Thunders, of course. He goes for Tailwind, and I'm actually just going to click my Psychic here, I believe, because I have no interest in killing the Togetic, not while Tailwind's fresh. If he's going to stay in, I would want to try to stall some turns out, and Psychic's always to play there. He brings in Greninja. As I said, I'm quite confident I'm able to live one, so I'm clicking my Thunderbolt and killing that thing. And he brings in Garchomp. My play... Well, I knew he was Scarf here, and even if I was able to save Thundurus, it didn't kill Togetic, so basically I just had to bank on Togetic not having special attack and Dragapult getting special defense drops, which was realistically my only chance to win at this point. So that goes down, Tailwind peters out, Dragapult comes in, clicks Shadow Ball, Garchomp goes down, he brings in Togetic, Shadow Ball doing a nice crispy 23. I do get the special defense drop, but it is very much too little too late, as he's able to go for his Dazzling Gleam here and end the game. And GG to my man Hiker, my nemesis, who stabbed me in the back. That snake said he was supposed to draft me, and he did not, but he pulls it out this week, and I will fall to 4-1, unfortunately. But you know what? I don't think there was much I could have done to improve my play in this game. He played his game perfect. I think I played my game perfect, and he came out on top in a close game. And, you know, it was a good one, I think. So I hope you guys enjoyed it too. GG to the opponent. And I want to thank you guys for watching.